Welcome to the Pilates Basics. So what I want to do in this video is just give you the foundation of the Pilates work so that when you jump into the classes, you don't feel a little lost. So I'm going to break things down here. This is where you want to come and practice a few times, especially the breath work. So let's talk about the principles of Pilates. So the principles of Pilates is for us to focus on integrating the core in everything that we do and the breath in everything that we do. And a lot of times when we exercise, we hold our breath. So if we can learn to breathe while we're moving, you're going to move more efficiently. And so Pilates is about getting more efficiency out of the way we move and also moving with more grace and more control and safety. So Pilates also really helps to correct a lot of misalignments in our body. And at first it may feel a little uncomfortable if you're not used to moving in that way. And so your body has to take time to correct itself. So be careful in what you do so that you're not forcing anything, but also give yourself grace and time in some of the exercises. So I'm going to go over first just the breath work alone. In the beginning of class, we always start with the breathing. It's not a time to check out, it's actually a time to check in. So you're going to be really focused during the breath work. So the first thing I do with the breathing is I get you to focus on the inhale. Because when you're inhaling in Pilates and exhaling, your abdominals are fully engaged. So you can't breathe into your belly like you do in yoga, or even in your normal day, you let your diaphragm drop, you expand your belly. That's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But in Pilates, our abdominals are completely engaged the whole time. And so this is where most people hold their breath. So if you can learn to breathe into your back, then you're going to be able to hold your stomach in while you're doing all the exercises. So that's the first thing we're going to focus on, is just doing the breath, the inhale, while keeping your abdominals flat. So one way to practice is just to sit up nice and tall with me here. And I want you to take your hand, place it right on your belly. And you're going to take an inhale, breathe in through your nose, and just fill your belly with air. You feel your stomach push against your hand, and that's totally fine. So as we inhale and exhale, we want to focus on letting our abdominals stay engaged. And so an image I like to use is if you have a pair of jeans, and we wear these jeans throughout the class, these invisible jeans. So you put on your invisible jeans and you zip up the zipper. And what happens when you zip up the zipper? You pull your belly button in, right? And so I want you to imagine you're zipping up a really tight pair of jeans. You zip it up. You've got your button fastened, and now you don't want your button to pop during class. So let's just practice zipping up the jeans. So we zip up, and maybe just this alone, you're already feeling the work in your abs, but you notice that you're holding your breath. So the next thing we want to do is we want to inhale. We're going to breathe in, and we're going to fill the back with air. So I want you to imagine there's a little space right between your shoulder blades here. And every time you inhale, you inflate the balloon. So you imagine this balloon inflating on the inhale. So you just want to inhale and inflate that balloon. And as you're doing that, you want to keep your jeans from popping open. So keep your hand on your belly. And now imagine that balloon right between your shoulder blades. And we're going to inhale, fill the back with air, and then exhale, just release. So the other thing I want you to focus on is that when you are inhaling, you're not letting your shoulders rise up. So we don't want to take air and pressure in the neck area. So we want to keep the neck long. And as you inhale, just feel that space between the shoulder blades inflate. And then exhale, you can blow out through your nose, or you can blow out through your mouth. If you blow out through your mouth, it's like you're blowing through a straw. Or you can imagine just letting the air seep out through your teeth. And you want to do that so that we're letting the air out very slowly. We don't want to take big breaths in really fast and then exhale really fast, right? Because then we run out of air. So we're going to lie down on the mat, and we're going to practice using this breath while we're laying down now. So sometimes in the class, you'll see me use a block between the legs, and this just helps keep your inner thighs engaged so your legs don't drop out. You can easily use a towel for this. You just want to hold it between the legs just lightly, and it just keeps your legs activated And it actually helps you also tap into the core as well. So I'm going to take my block, and I'm also going to take a towel. Now this is important. You want to have a hand towel that's rolled up, and you want to put this behind your head. And this just gives your neck some extra support so you're not poking your chin to the ceiling. So I place my towel down, and I'm going to lay on my back and the towel behind my head. And then I'm going to take the block and just gently put it between my legs, and my feet are flat on the floor. So just relax your toes. Take your hands on your belly again. Relax your shoulders down your back. And let's take a deep breath in. Inhale through the nose. Keep your jeans zipped. And then exhale. Just let it out. We'll focus on the exhale in a minute. But right now, I just want you to really be focusing on what's happening on that inhale. So as you inhale, fill your back with air. Keep the button from popping. And just practice slowly letting the air out. Like you have a balloon and you're letting the air slowly come out. So we inhale. Breathe into the back. And exhale. Slowly let the air out. So the other thing I want you to focus on your inhale is that you are using the lateral breath. So we're going to breathe out to the sides of the room. So when you inhale, imagine that you have little gills like a fish, and they kind of flutter apart. They open out every time you inhale. And so as you inhale in your lower ribs on your back, feel the ribs expand as you inhale out to the sides of the room. Feel your gills opening up. As that balloon is inflating with air, your gills are also opening up to the sides. And right away, you should feel your back broadening. And this is allowing for space. So now you have space somewhere for the breath to go. Because if you're holding your stomach in, it's super hard to take an inhale. So we breathe into the back, keeping the belly in. Inhale. Shoulders are down. Exhale. Let the air seep out slowly. And we inhale, breathe into the back. And then exhale slowly, let the air out. Beautiful. So the next thing we're going to focus on is that exhale. And the exhale is super important because this is where we get our power. So every time I exhale, I'm really pulling into the core of my body so that when I'm ready to do a difficult part of the exercise, my body is ready for it. And my breath and my core is working together. So we're going to take an exhale out. And when we do, I want you to feel your belly button. You already have your jeans on, right? You already have your button. You're keeping it in. But when you exhale, imagine the waist of your pants actually getting looser as you compress the core and pull the belly button in. So on your exhale, you're going to just pull your belly button in, and you're going to feel the waist of the pants get looser. So let's practice that. So we inhale, we inflate the balloon in the back. And then we exhale slowly, and you feel your navel sinking in, and the waist cinching, right? That's your transverse abdominals. Those are the abdominal muscles that cinch your waist. They act like a corset and wrap around your torso, and so they support your back. So it's a really important muscle to train. And we use it for the whole Pilates class. So every time you exhale, you're going to engage your transverse abdominals. You're going to exhale, draw the navel in. And what else I want you to do now is put your hands on your ribs. And as you exhale, I want you to feel your ribs soften. Feel the ribs sink in, right? So as my navel goes in, my ribs also go in. So now I'm really engaging the core. So let's just practice those things right now. So the inhale. Breathe into your back. Exhale. Feel the navel sinking in. Feel the ribs sinking in. And inhale, breathe into the back. And exhale, navel sinks in, ribs sink in. Now let's relax the arms by the side and be aware of your shoulders now, right? So walk your shoulders down the mat. Try not to pinch your shoulder blades together. Remember, inflating that balloon, and we're always expanding the shoulder blades in the back. And as you inhale now, just relax your fingers. Make sure you're relaxing your toes. Try not to grip your fingers or your toes. And we inhale, we breathe into the back, out the sides of the ribs. And then we exhale, navel drops, ribs soften. Shoulders melt down. And inhale. And exhale, navel sinks into the spine. Shoulders are pressing away from your ears. And inhale, breathe into the back. And exhale, feel the navel sinking in, shoulders melting down. So as you do this breath, you're really engaging the core. Inhale, breathe into the back. Lengthen the neck. Now I want you to be aware of your head, right? So the chin is tilted slightly down as you have this towel behind your head. So be sure it's not behind your neck and pulling your chin up, but instead lengthen the neck by bringing that towel up on your occipital lobe. You'll feel this bone. Feel that bone in the back of your head. That's where you want to put that towel, a little bit above it. So now your neck should feel nice and long. Your shoulders are pressing down towards your hips. And we're doing all this core breathing or lateral breathing and engaging the core. So the next thing we're going to do with this breath is we're going to go into the imprint. And the imprint is an important part of Pilates. The imprint, the reason we use that name is you imagine that if you pushed your back against the mat, right, when you got up, it would leave an imprint of your spine into the mat. So I'm going to give you some imageries to help you imprinting. So when you imprint, you're going to use your exhale and you're going to draw your navel into the spine and you're going to let that navel keep going until you can imagine that your navel is touching the inside of your spine and then they're pushing your waist, the waist of your jeans, right, into the mat, right? And what you want to do when you do this, though, is not grip and squeeze and lift the buttocks up, but instead just feel the waist sink in to the mat and then release the waist off the mat. We call that neutral spine, where you're taking the waist not all the way off, just slightly, so it's not exaggerated. And you might feel your tailbone just relax into the floor, soften into the floor. So I'm not pushing my tailbone really hard into the floor. I'm just softly resting my tailbone. And then when I imprint, I push the waist in by pulling my navel into the floor. And I'm just hollowing out. So you're an ice cream and somebody scooped out, right? You would be hollowed out here. So think of hollowing out, scooping the ice cream out, and then releasing back to neutral spine. So we're going to just practice this with the breath. So you'll inhale, and then you'll exhale, sink the navel into the spine. Feel your waist press into the mat, and then release as you inhale. Coming back to neutral. Remember, when you inhale, though, we don't fill the belly with air, so you got to keep the button fastened on your jeans. So we inhale, exhale, waist sinks into the floor, belly button sinks into the floor, and then you inhale, breathe into the back, and exhale, navel sinks into the mat, and then inhale, and exhale, sink the waist into the floor. And inhale and release. Good. So another thing to watch out for when you are doing these exercises is that you're not pulling your shoulders forward, right? So when I go to push the waist back, I don't want to pull the shoulders forward. So if you were feeling that, try to relax your shoulders so that your neck is elongated during the imprint and you're just hollowing out. And then coming back to neutral with your shoulders relaxed. So this takes some practice. This is why I wanted to make this basics video, because you really want to practice this a few times of getting just the waist and your neck is relaxed. Relax the shoulders. And so that it's just in the lumbar spine, the lower back is moving. Okay, so we're curving the lumbar spine, going back to neutral, curving, and going back to neutral. So the next exercise we're going to do is a sitting up contraction. And this, I think, is going to really help you to get this. So we're going to come to a seated position. And I like to use the big ball for this. And this is a nice one because it doesn't strain your neck. And it's preparing you for an exercise called the roll-up, which is a harder exercise to get off the floor. So in this exercise, preparing in the seated position, I'm going to still keep my block and I'm going to keep it right up just below my knees. So it starts right below the knees, in between the calves, so that I can really squeeze and use the inner thighs, which will help you. And I'm going to work on my back flexibility. So roll-ups and all those exercises, the 100, all those exercises that we do in Pilates is a flexibility exercise for your back. You're trying to curve your back. So You're trying to hollow out and curve the back. But you don't want to pull the shoulders up. You want to instead make sure that it's isolated in the box or in the lumbar spine area here, okay, in the core of the body. So we're going to start with our hands on top of this ball. And what I'm going to do is I put the ball right on the block. And the goal here is to not move the ball at all. So my hands are on the ball, but I make sure my shoulders are dropping down the back and I'm reaching long with my legs. Now, one of the things that happens for some people in Pilates is they might get a cramp in their foot because they're not used to pointing. It's okay to flex your foot then, but you want to have some kind of energy coming out through your feet, whether it's through your heels or through your toes. So you really want to flex and send that energy out through your legs if you are flexing the feet. So we're going to inhale. And on the exhale, you're going to draw your belly button deep into the spine and pull your waist away from this ball. And then we're going to inhale, stack one vertebrae at a time, up, 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 keeping your jeans fastened, and sit up nice and tall. So we're going to exhale, scoop, and hollow out, pull away from the ball. Send energy through your heels or point your feet. And then inhale, stack each vertebrae up. So the breath will go exhale, 2, 3, 4, and inhale, 2, 3, 4, and exhale. Scoop, hollow out, 4, and inhale, 3, 4. Pull the waist back, hollow. Really feel the abdominals working here, and lengthen. 2, sitting tall, energy out the top of your head. Exhale, keep the ball there, move away from the ball, and extend. 2, 3. Good. So the next part of this is called the roll down. And the goal is to just gradually get closer to the floor. Now, I like to put a towel behind my back so that I can feel when I'm getting close to the floor. And the goal is to reach through your waist. So you want to feel like somebody tied a string around your waist and they're pulling you back by your waist. So you don't want to lean back with your head. So during this exercise, I want you to think of your head reaching towards this ball the whole time. So I'll demonstrate it. I inhale, and then I exhale. I start by just pulling the waist away from the ball. I'm not rolling the ball yet. Once I get into a good C curve, see, I look like a letter C, then I start to roll the ball with me, and I touch my towel, and then I roll back up, keeping my waist reaching for this towel. I want my waist to still be reaching back as I come forward, and then I'm going to lengthen and sit up nice and tall. Okay, so let's try this together. So we inhale, exhale, pull the waist back, curve the spine, start to roll back. Inhale, breathe into your back. Exhale, waist back, head forward. Inhale, stack each vertebrae, sit up nice and tall. Exhale, hollow out, pull your belly button in, rolling back. Inhale, stretch, 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 shoulders down. Exhale, rolling up. Inhale and lengthen. And again, exhale, hollow out, curve your spine. Inhale, start to roll back with the ball. Exhale, waist is back as your head goes forward. Inhale and lengthen. So that's called an oppositional pull. When you have your waist going in one direction and your head wanting to go the opposite. So that's what helps me get up, is that oppositional pull. So as I'm coming up, my waist pushes into this towel behind me, but my head is stretching forward, and I get a nice stretch through the spine, and then I lengthen up. So it's just something to think about, which will help you with your roll-ups. Eventually, you'll get all the way down to the floor and all the way back up, and you would move the towel, and then you would do this whole exercise, rolling all the way down and coming all the way up. And it looks super easy, but it takes a lot of practice. So it's not something you want to do right in the beginning. You want to work up to it. And then the second thing I like to work on just for the basics is your roll up, which is just the bottom part of this exercise. So for this, I use this ball so that it glides along my legs. Now, if you don't have the ball yet, then you can just reach your hands out over your legs, and that's fine. But the goal is to stay connected to your legs, and I find that this really helps people to roll up smoothly without using momentum to get up, which is not very good for your body. So we start with the towel under our head, and I'm going to start by hollowing out. I'm going to imprint. So this is super important. As we start to use forward flexion and you start lifting your head off the mat, it's super important that you are engaged in your core and you're using your imprint before your head ever leaves the mat. So I don't want to just lift, because once I do that, I can't pull my transverse, and I've used my rectus abdominis now, and I can't get my transverse abdominals to engage. So super important that you're allowing your belly to sink in first, hollowing, and then we go for the curve. So an image I like to use that might help you and also to relieve some neck strain if you're feeling it is I imagine that there's a pocket under my, like a little pocket of air under my waist, and it's at the waist of the pants, and I put that little pocket of hot air, and when I go to imprint, I push it and it pops the pocket, and the hot air runs up my spine and it goes up into my neck. So as I'm rolling up, I inhale and I exhale and I push the hot air, and it goes up my back and it's pushing my head forward. Now you might find this is it. This is as far as you go, and that's good. Don't go any further if you feel like you have to force it. And then we roll back down. So we're going to breathe. You're going to inhale. Exhale, you're going to push the waist. Feel the hot pocket of air pop, and it goes up the back of the neck. And you try to get the ball a little further. Maybe it goes to your knees. Inhale, and then you'll exhale, lower down. Inhale and lengthen out. So we go exhale, imprint, head up. Inhale, roll the ball. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, lengthen. And eventually, as you do this exercise, you'll go a little further till you're able to roll up, keeping the waist back. So you want to really curve the spine. So something else I'm doing is I'm really lengthening my legs. So the reason I use the ball is sometimes it's really uncomfortable and it's super hard to roll up with your legs on the floor. But when your legs are on the ball, you can get your legs nice and straight and you can roll up. So that's why I like to use the ball. Now, if you have like a little bench or a stool or a chair, you can also put your legs on there, and that might help you. So I inhale. You can also put your feet up on the wall. So if you put your feet flat against the wall and elevate your legs, you can also do this exercise there. So we inhale, exhale, hollow out, pull your belly button in, roll up, inhale, hold. Exhale, lower down, squeeze the legs together, inhale, lengthen. And again, exhale, hollow out, curve the spine. Inhale, hold. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lengthen, make sure your neck stays long. Exhale, drop your shoulders down your back. Inhale, stretch. Exhale, lower down. Inhale and rest. Good job. So those are some of the basics that I really wanted to get into today, just because when we're doing a class, a lot of times we want to jump forward and we want to do the full exercise, but you need to go at small increments and give yourself grace. And as you build the flexibility in your back, you're going to be able to stretch up a little further and roll up. It's not a hip flexor work. So a lot of times what people do is they try to muscle a roll up, and then they're just using their hip flexors. So if you can really learn to get the waist into the floor and then lift your head, you're going to really start to get the curve in the spine and less strain in your neck. If you do feel any tension in your neck, you need to stop and you need to rest. One of the things about Pilates is we don't need to do 100 repetitions. You want to do the most quality rep you can every time at 100% energy, and maybe it's 5, and then you rest. You don't need to do 20. You will build strength because everything you're doing is with intention, and you're doing it fully 100% focused because you're focusing on your breath and you're focusing on the movement and you're focusing on all these imageries that I'm going to be giving you. So I know a lot of people when they take a Pilates class, they notice the time just goes by because they're so focused on the exercise. So I hope that this intro helps you as you join us on some of the classes. Some of my classes will be live classes in the studio here at my studio in Sedona with some of my students, and some of them will just be like this one-on-one while I'll be presenting a class. So I hope that you stick with it. Just keep practicing. It will get better and better, I promise you. Thank you for joining me.